We all know, don't we, that the word Eucharist means thanksgiving? Well, this week I have a couple of more reasons to be thankful. I was talking to my niece yesterday, who lives in Burlington, Vermont, where she told me the daytime temperature one day this week was 51 degrees below zero. I said, oh, our temperature here was 72. And she says, oh, shut up. Last week, we had the magnificent Gospel of the Beatitudes according to Matthew. And that was an introduction to a 3-chapter section of Matthew's Gospel where Jesus is really talking about the new law. You know, if you ask most Christians and most Catholics today, what do you have to do to please God? Instinctively, our first response would be, well, you have to obey the 10 Commandments. Well, obeying the 10 Commandments makes you a good Jew. It doesn't make you a good Christian. The 10 Commandments were given by God to Moses for the people of the Old Covenant. Jesus came and built the new law on the foundation of the 10 Commandments. He didn't do away with the commandments, but he said, this is the foundation. And the new law, just as the old law was encapsulated in the 10 Commandments of the Decalogue, the new law is encapsulated in the Beatitudes. And what are the Beatitudes all about? The Beatitudes are all about Jesus Christ. He is the new law. Blessed are the meek. Jesus was meek and humble of heart. Blessed are the poor of spirit. Blessed are the peacemakers. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for justice. Blessed are those persecuted. All of these describe aspects of Jesus Christ. He is the new law. What do we have to do to be pleasing to God as Christians? We have to be commandment-keeping disciples and imitators of Jesus Christ. And that brings us to today's gospel, where Jesus says, you, and he's talking to his disciples, and through his disciples to all of us, you are the salt of the earth. Now, why does he use that expression? Why does he call us salt? Is that particularly complimentary? Well, we have to stop and realize what salt means. First of all, salt is one of those elements that is absolutely essential for human life. We can't live without salt, nor can we live without water, nor can we live without air. So salt is essential for human life. By calling us salt, he is saying, you are essential for God's life in this world. To make the presence of God, the presence of Christ felt in this world, you are essential. Salt is also, in the ancient world, the great preservator. Before they had refrigeration to keep meat good, they used salt. And they were able to transport meat over long distances because it was salted. Otherwise, it would go rotten. And so salt is a preserver. Part of our task in being Christ-like is to preserve the good that is in the world, to preserve and enhance compassion, kindness, mercy, justice. That is the task we have as disciples of Christ. But there is another meaning for salt, because salt in the ancient world was also a symbol of death. There was a Roman statesman, Pliny the Elder, and every time he would talk in the Roman Senate, he always ended his speeches in the same way. He would say the words, "Carthago delenda est," Carthage must be destroyed. And when the day came when Carthage was destroyed, they tore down the walls, they destroyed the buildings, and then they sowed salt in the place where Carthage stood, so that nothing living would ever be able to grow there again. And so part of our saltiness is that we must be destroyers of evil, of injustice, of cruelty, of prejudice, of sin in this world. So all three of those elements of salt speak to us in our call to be Christ-like in this world. Jesus also tells us, "You are the light of the world." That's a much easier reference for us to understand, isn't it? And it's one that is so common in Scripture. Jesus came as the light in a world of darkness. We too are called to be lights. And how are we lights? Once again, by taking seriously our Christian vocation to be Christ-like in our lives. To realize how important we are to God's work in this world, how essential we are, that our task is to preserve good and to destroy evil and death.